Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the September 9th, 2022 to October 2nd, 2022 Mercury retrograde transit, which will be in Libra and Virgo. It will be in retrograde in Libra from September 9th until the 23rd of September, and then when it hits September 23rd, it's going to transition into Virgo, and it'll be retrograde in Virgo until the 2nd of October. And it's interesting. You have this retrograde period. In retrograde, I think might be a little misconception about it in general that it's all bad and all delays. But when you have retrograde, Mercury is retrograde as far as its general meaning. It also can be an opportunity to go back into writings and communications that were previously unfinished. The fact that you're talking about Mercury retrograde in Libra during that time, it could be legal communications, matters with the law. It could be about relationships, matters, even talking about other Libra-related things, fairness, justice. There might be legal documents too, that may need to be filed by some people, or might need to research, these documents, and it's a time to get this done when you have more of an opportunity to go back on certain paperwork that could be Libra related during the time that transit Mercury is retrograde in Libra. And it's also could be reviewing some negotiations. And it's interesting, some of you may have heard of Deshaun Watson. He's a prolific NFL quarterback. He has his natal Mercury in Libra, and he's somebody that's probably very adept and proficient in negotiating. And he had a number of lawsuits filed by women against him. I believe there were sexual allegations. You may want to confer on the internet what that was precisely. But anyway, he settled a number of them out of court, and he's very good in terms of negotiating. But he himself might even be reviewing what he actually reconciled, what was fair to him. I don't know, any of the nuances and details, if he had paid, these people, the women that had put these lawsuits against him and allegations against him or what have you. But now I feel fairly safe to say he will be going through some review process during this time when transit Mercury is in retrograde Libra. And of course, when you have planet Mercury retrograde, it can be about holdups. When you're trying to drive to a destination, there might be more traffic congestion. You might feel that there's something that's not fair about it when transit Mercury is retrograde in Libra. And during the time that it's going to be retrograde in Libra, it's going to be making an opposition to Jupiter in Aries. So you have to be careful about distortions of truth, and what is somebody is willing to compromise or give some peace offering, that they're not just enlarging upon something because they want something, or they're just trying to pacify you or make you happy. And don't be overly impulsive in order to reach a compromise with somebody. Being overly optimistic about it, I think that's some things to look at when you have this transit Mercury retrograde in Libra, because it's going to be opposing Jupiter in Aries during that time as well. And the thing about it is too, and going back to being about compromising and reconciliation, in some cases, keep in mind that Mercury is more than just about communications and short journeys. It's also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, and it could be going back to conversations with those people, and having some kind of It could be a reconciliation. It could be some situation where you need to resolve something with these people. Mercury is also connected with the early education, so I would say too, it could reflect people that were prominent in your early education, and these people may be. Um, you might have at least one of these people maybe you reconnect with at this time, and maybe there was some animosity toward this person or vice versa. Maybe there's a time where you could have your peaceful talks with these people and be able to maybe resolve some issues. I think with this transit, Mercury retrograde in Libra could be a good opportunity in doing so. And the thing is, it's really it's an opportunity to get back to paperwork that could be Libra related. And remember, when you have Mercury, retrograde, your thinking might be a little more methodical during that time. It may be where you hold back a little bit more and you're trying to be a little bit more of a listener, as opposed to a communicator. And it's really about, and you might be reflecting during the time that transit Mercury is retrograde in Libra, are my communications balanced enough? Am I being diplomatic and tactful when I speak? Am I being constructive and using my words appropriately? Have I been persuasive enough in certain things if I'm trying to, if someone's trying to find a job, as some examples. But keep in mind during the time, it's going to transition again. It will transition. Mercury retrograde will transition to Virgo on the 23rd of September. And when this comes, I mean, naturally you have some similarities. When Mercury was retrograde in Libra, just the general meaning of Mercury being retrograde, such as being more of a listener as opposed to a communicator, being a little more methodical in what you're speaking, reviewing certain things. But when Mercury is retrograde in Virgo, it could be more analysis of things. It could be, you might be thinking more, about your health and just your daily routine, your diet, nutrition. And when Mercury is retrograde, naturally it's more introspective, it's more thinking as opposed to actually communicating. Mercury retrograde can also be subtle. It's a little bit less direct. So if you have, during the time of the transit, like when Mercury is retrograde in Virgo, it could be like somebody talking. If they have a comment they're going to make about maybe someone's hygiene, they don't smell, really good. They say something like, "Oh, gee, I like to always be clean. I bathe every day. It's a shame that not everybody else does that." It's going to be, Mercury retrograde is more subtle, and it's more about indirect communication in contrast to Mercury being direct. And the thing too is, during this time, you're going to have at this time as well, when transit Venus will be in Virgo and Libra. So you're going to have, during the time of the transit of Mercury retrograde in Libra and Virgo, Venus will be in Virgo and Libra. So it's a very strong emphasis in general of Virgo and Libra energy. The Virgo energy, of course, very analytical, very meticulous, organized. And going back to the time when Mercury transit, Mercury is going to be retrograde in Virgo, at least for I believe it's for all the transit. It will be making a trine to Pluto and Capricorn. So that could be a time where, I would say, if you're trying to, make a transformation career-wise, it could be a good time for reviewing that and analyzing where you are, at this point in time, your stature in life. Do you feel, it could be about, weighing the pros and cons is more Libra, um, but you're going to have the Sun in Libra during, really for most, if not all of the time. Transit Mercury retrograde will be in Virgo, so you have some Libra energy there as well going on, weighing pros and cons. But going back to transit, Mercury in Virgo retrograde, trining Pluto in Capricorn. That will be, a time again where it could be about a lot of review and analysis about making a transformation in one's career. And do you think your stature in life is where you want it, your success, social status? It could be things of that nature. And it's also about, again, not just about reviewing. Remember that Mercury, as I stated before, is also associated with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. So if there is some communications that you had, you've got to go back to them with these people you need to dissect and break down. You're trying to interpret what something meant at one time. If you're trying to say, was this person, making a derogatory remark, or was it just constructive criticism? This could be the opportune time to go and do that. And I think, when you have, Mercury retrograde, again, it's not always bad. And there is, I think, a little misconception by some people that it's like, oh, it's so dreadful. They'll sarcastically say, oh, I'm really looking forward to this on bated breath and whatever. But it actually can be very positive. For things that are, to review matters, to get back to documents. If you have any paper during the time when transit Mercury is retrograde in Virgo, it could be going back to documents that could be health related. If you're trying to, find them or locate them, you need it for, say you're going to a new doctor or primary physician and you're trying to find old documents that are pertaining to your health, whether it be blood work or what have you. This is the time where you may have more opportunity and time to actually look for those papers and to get what you need. And also, Mercury is also Mercury in Virgo can be very analytical. So it could be going back to analytical communications or writings. If you have the transit of Mercury retrograde in Virgo in your 8th house as an example, it could be going back to analytical, detail-oriented communications connected with the occult, which includes astrology or psychology as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.